Thanks very much, Tim, and thanks everyone for having me here today. Kaya, and welcome to Wajak Buja on sunny Perth. Thanks for everyone who's travelled and made the trip all the way over here for the last few days. I was lucky enough to come along on Monday night, and it's really impressive to see the range of scholars that we've got here this year, and obviously the cohort that you've built over the years. So aside from the slight imposter syndrome that I feel being in a room full of such accomplished people, it's really a great pleasure to be here representing DAFF and the Future Drought Fund, which has invested 1.6 million in over the next few years for the drought resilience scholars through Nuffield. I'm lucky enough to be involved in the delivery of FDF's communities programs, including thinking about how we better engage with First Nations Australians. I'm really grateful to be afforded the opportunity to provide a bit of an overview of what the FDF actually is, what it aims to achieve, and how it links in with people on the ground, given the theme of today. So the Future Drought Fund, or FDF, is a $5 billion fund set up in 2020 to help Australian farmers prepare for the impacts of drought and communities. It's not about providing government support when we're in drought. It's all about putting in place the foundations for farmers and communities to draw upon when the next drought hits, so they can better manage through it, survive, and hopefully thrive as well. Provides $100 million each year to be invested in drought resilience initiatives, allocated to programs through a 4-year funding plan. So we know drought's got pretty significant economic, social and environmental impacts, and that's why we're taking a triple bottom line approach to all the investment that we do. And that's a deliberate move to support the diversity of farming businesses, communities and landscapes across Australia, and also to help address their unique challenges, both challenges and opportunities to build resilience to drought, but also being fully aware that other climate risks come into play as well. I guess that approach also emphasises the interconnectedness between these three aspects and as part of working in a complex system. So no single aspect, or environmental, economic or social, is considered more important than the other, but people are certainly essential to all of those things. Without the people on the ground doing the research, building those connections, adopting the technologies and providing that leadership and supporting each other, the programs and funding that I'll walk you through now would be somewhat irrelevant. So the FDF invests over a number of different themes, and we've, over the last 3 years, established a suite of programs that fall into those. I guess many of them have been running since 2020, but some of those, like our Drought Resilience Nuffield scholarships, are brand new to us. Not to you, but they're a new investment for us. I should also note that now we're in the 4th year. The FDF's in a bit of a period of review and reflection as we consider our next forward funding plan. We've had Productivity Commission reviewing the process lately, and later in the year we'll be doing some public consultation on how we should be investing our money over the next 4 years, and that's where we'll be coming to stakeholders like people in the room to be getting ideas. But for now, I'll just give you a quick overview of what's been happening in each of these themes before diving a little deeper into the community side of things. So better climate information was one of those themes, and I guess you can't expect people to appropriately plan for climate risks such as drought if that useful climate information isn't available or is not available in a format that's easily understood and usable. So we've been investing 29 million in a climate services for agriculture program developed by the Bureau of Meteorology and CSIRO. And that's the plan for that, is to try and help farmers to better plan for those risks through tools like My Climate View. So My Climate View enables users to prepare for future climate conditions by using historical, seasonal and projected climate information, drawing comparisons with recent weather, and then considering what it might mean for the commodities that they produce, both in in the near to long-term future. Better planning was one of those other themes, and I guess another way that we're trying to help farmers plan for drought is through the Farm Business Resilience Program, which has been a really popular way of trying to build business skills to better prepare for drought and other climate risks. This is done through the provision of subsidised training to farmers and the funding of tailored business planning to individual farms. I guess on a larger scale, we're encouraging that community collaboration by helping at-risk regions plan for drought through the regional drought resilience planning. We certainly recognise that the needs of farmers and communities differ from state to state and territory, and it's really important that these plans at an individual or a regional level are self-determining and user-led. If the people impacted are not involved in their development and implementation, then certainly not going to achieve a lot of tractions. Better practices is, I guess, one of the themes that many of our programs fall into, which aims to develop and drive adoption of farming and land management practices and technologies that improve drought resilience. There's now over 200 discrete projects operating in different parts of Australia to trial or showcase changes in how we manage the land, driving both productivity and sustainability throughout the drought cycle. I won't go into all of these, but I guess as a bit of a brief snapshot, over the next 6 years, the FDF is supporting long-term trials of drought resilience farming practices, extension and adoption grants, which aim to help farmers adopt proven practices and technologies. We know that these sort of proven R&D practices are often already out there, but we need to make sure that they're within reach of the people who can benefit from them. Adoption activities also continue through the work of our 8 drought resilience adoption and innovation hubs across the country, which support farmers to get ready for drought through practical extension, adoption and information sharing activities. Each hub has several nodes and between them cover over 40 locations and partner with over 143 different organisations. So have a look on our website. I don't have a link up there at the moment, but there's certainly an avenue to have a look at to connect people with agricultural experts, innovation, demonstration opportunities and new practices. I guess also being some of those things listed up there, soon to be launched Drought Resilience Commercialisation Initiative, our annual Science to Practice Forum, Resilience and Landscapes grants, more innovation grants, soils and landscapes programs, and perhaps most importantly for people in the room, this is where the Nuffield Drought Resilience Scholarships fit in. So as I said before, this investment's sort of 1.6 million over 2 years, and the program was established in partnership with Nuffield to recognise and support the leaders and innovators in the field of drought resilience. We're really excited to be able to sponsor 10 drought-specific scholarships, 5 for 2024 and 5 for 2025. And as you're well aware, these scholars have the opportunity to build their networks across Australia and overseas, learning from leaders to build their knowledge of drought resilience and to prepare themselves and their communities for drying conditions. The program also provides funding to some of the other scholars to undertake some drought resilience activities throughout the course of the program. I do almost wish that this program fitted into my community's remit at the department, because it's such a really neat way of, I guess, of delivering on the ground to real people that has a really wide-ranging benefits. So I guess as we move into that community sort of side of things, and given the theme of this session, I'll dwell on this a little bit longer and probably get a little bit more excited than reeling off facts and figures, because I guess this is my area. I guess at the FDF we really do understand that that people underpin everything that we do, and that the impacts of drought are felt well beyond the farm gate. I know I'm probably preaching to the converted in this room when I reiterate that it's not just farmers who are impacted by drought, but also the publican, the hairdresser, the local cafe, and everyone living in a regional community as drought hits and financial impacts bite. Services close, and mental health and wellbeing is generally stretched. So it's certainly beyond the farm gate. It's pretty well known that drought can create difficulties in maintaining the social fabric and social capital of rural and regional Australia, and can, at really bad times, threaten the viability of some of these rural communities. But I guess at the same time, drought resilience is really underpinned by the strength of the entire community network. So the benefits of preparing for drought at the community level are huge, and mean farmers and their communities will be better networked and in a stronger position to adopt to changes and to take advantage of opportunities as they arise. But this requires engaging and bringing the whole community along for the journey. That includes farmers, service providers, youth, culturally and linguistic diverse communities, First Nations, LGBTQIA+, everyone. And that's easier said than done. Although it is a really powerful way of forming stronger community connections and relationships, which can be lent on in times of hardship, of creating opportunities for regional communities to learn from each other and share what is and isn't working. And this is probably particularly important in the agricultural industry, which, believe it or not, has something of a level of distrust for government. And ultimately, it's a great way of facilitating change. So I guess through this Better Prepared Communities theme, we've committed to supporting leaders, networks and organisations that underpin community resilience. So we're working with network partners like the Foundation for Rural and Regional Renewal and Australian Rural Leaders Foundation, who, with the FDF, work on delivering our, wait for it, Helping Regional Communities Prepare for Drought Initiative, which I'm not sure who came up with that name, but it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. I guess the initiative aims to build that social capital within communities by developing community leaders, community networks, opportunities for peer learning, capacity building, and improved mental health and wellbeing, as well as some minor infrastructure projects supporting improvements to places where communities can gather. So this links in really neatly, in my view, with the Nuffield scholarships, because whether our Nuffield scholars are in formal leadership positions or not, they will be the leaders in their field and within their communities, and will play a really important role in I guess, building those capacities and capabilities within their communities. And I guess, to be fair, having listened to quite a few of you already, you probably already are leaders, whether you're in that formal leadership positions or not. So the Helping Regional Communities Prepare for Drought Initiative, what exactly is it? I guess it's made up of a suite of programs, and front and centre is probably our Community Impact Program. That's being delivered across 35 regions nationally, providing grants of up to $500,000 per region. We're pretty excited about this one, given its scale and delivery approach. While it's a nationally funded program, it really is locally driven. So as opposed to other traditional grant programs where community organisations essentially compete for funding, this program involves a facilitated co-design process where grassroots community organisations across the region discuss and decide upon the most appropriate mix of projects for their region. We've completed this process in 27 of those 35 regions, and the range of projects that we're seeing coming through is immense. Things from small-scale infrastructure, learning and development. There's some First Nations-led initiatives, community networking events, and I think there was one in our last round that was related to community childcare, Tracy, which you'll be pleased to hear. And I guess aside from the funding provided, we've already seen that non-competitive process is bringing together people and organisations who wouldn't otherwise normally have any reason to collaborate, and that's creating stronger networks within regions before the projects even begin. So I guess following that program, we'll be having the Community Impact Program, which should be launching in a few weeks, early next month, and that's providing smaller grants of up to $20,000 to do similar sorts of things, the community, stronger connections and networks within communities. And I guess that's the intention there, is to try and provide an opportunity for regions that didn't get to participate or organisations that missed out during the Community Impact Program. And while those projects are smaller in scale, we've learned from previous programs that even these small initiatives can have a really significant impact in community. I'll come to a few examples of those in my next slide. But just quickly going through a couple of the other things there. National Mentoring Program, that's also run by Australian Rural Leaders, 12-month learning program, connecting mentors with mentees who want to make a difference in their community. That's been really popular and filled up both times. Both rounds of that are now underway, although I'd certainly encourage anyone in this room, particularly the scholars, to consider participating if further rounds of that initiative are run. A couple of other little ones, the National Learning Network, that's been launched recently for previous participants in our communities programs, enabling to keep learning from each other, keep sharing experiences and keep telling the stories. I guess at that stage, that network's, while it's still up and being established, is via participation is via invitation only, although we're certainly looking at how we can expand that out and make that network a bit broader. And I guess finally, the National Expertise Pool is, I guess, an online platform that's intended to reduce the barriers of community organisations accessing specialty expertise, which can be really hard to do sometimes. So that's providing something of a concierge service to community organisations and some advice on what sort of a service they might need and directing them towards some of those. So I guess that sort of suite of programs is something we're really pleased to see taking shape as part of the broader offerings of the Future Drought Fund. They really build on and expand on our initial social resilience programs, which were the Networks to Build Drought Resilience and Drought Resilience Leaders programs. Measuring of those things is something that we've, I guess, struggled with a little bit. It's really hard to do to show that you're having a social impact in communities in short government timeframes of providing grants and programs. But it's something we're really keen to make sure that we are doing and are doing well. And there's some pretty significant investments. Thanks, Sally, who's out there somewhere from Nous Group, who are working with us at the moment to try and work out how we can demonstrate those benefits, because they're real, and I guess they're real and they're tangible, and they're both powerful and empowering to communities. So, just as one very quick snapshot, Marama Hall, South Australia, is one that we like to use. Once the central sort of meeting place for this small community, it's only 62 people, pretty small town. But I guess over many decades, that town hall fell into disrepair and it wasn't used. So with the networks grants, they were able to undertake some structural repairs, and then just little things, putting in an air conditioner, some functioning toilet blocks, that sort of thing. They were able to do that with the grant, but that also relied on a huge amount of commitment from the community to get involved through volunteer work, local contractors and working bees to get the job done. And feedback that we're hearing for that sort of a project is that since doing that, there's been a fairly dramatic shift in attitudes. Not only did it give them a reason to meet throughout their construction works and renovation works, but they've now actually got a shared space that they can use for not just drought things, but any sorts of meetings and get-togethers, and it's something that they've done themselves and can be proud of. And I think that sort of legacy of pride and collaboration and actually having somewhere where you can get together places communities like Marama in a really strong position to cope with any sort of a difficult time. So that's just one example. There were, through that program, there were 87 different projects funded, resulting in nearly 800 activities and close to 38,000 people reaching close to 38,000 people. So we're really excited to see how the next range of projects coming through our community impact program end up. So nearly at the end there's just a couple of slides there. The one on the right, I think it's the right, yep, the right is just a map of some of those regions that we're working through for the community impact program. But the one on the left is probably a little bit more interesting, and it gets kind of exciting when you start mapping these sorts of things out. So those dots and lines represent participants and connections made during the FDF's foundational year Drought Resilience Leaders program. Don't ask me the science behind how you create a map like this, but I guess what it's trying to represent there in just 1 year of structured leadership training and facilitated mentoring, you've ended up with literally thousands of participant connections. That's not to say every person now knows thousands more people, but those connections are there. And I guess that's a pretty incredibly powerful when we're looking forward to seeing how that grows with the next couple of years of more leadership and more mentoring. I think it would be amazing to see something like that for Nuffield, because you've had way more people than we've had through the Nuffield program, through the leaders and networks, and it'd be a global map with lines and dots all over the world. So while it's been great to sort of stand up here to talk about the programs, in my mind I keep reverting back to the importance of people. It's certainly the people in communities who really drive that change. Yes, it's nice to be able to put programs up and talk about dollar figures, but they're all kind of meaningless without the people. They're the ones who drive the change, and that includes you as Nuffield scholars. You're the ones who live in these communities. You're an essential part of the fabric that makes them work, and your ability to make those connections and networks, to learn new and innovative approaches, and then to work out how to go about sharing your findings is a really important part of building the profitability, cohesion and resilience of these communities and of the broader agricultural sector. I'd certainly love to stay in touch and to hear about all the great things that will be happening over the next few years. But for now, just congratulations again to all the 2024 scholars, and we really wish you well on your journey over the next few years and of joining the big and what looks like a pretty happy Nuffield family. Thanks very much.